local labor market. But I don't want to spend time discussing my personal opinion. I will have some time afterwards, but I just would like first to give the floor to Sarah Kaiden. She's now in Africa, I think, back home. And I would like actually to give her floor and to get her opinion and her answers on questions we raised together. If you have connection with remote participant. Sarah?
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Sarah. So could you please describe, your experience and your ideas actually on questions we put to the workshop?
Hello everyone, good evening. This is Sarah Kiden. I'm from Uganda. I work at Uganda Christian University. I want to thank everyone for joining us for this session today. I believe it will be interesting as we talk about open education repositories. It is 2 a.m. in Uganda, but I'm so happy that I can participate in this session, and thank you, Prof, for facilitating this. So I just wanted to hint on the issue of policies and for quality ranking. I want to start by saying that quality control should be a collective effort. So it should not be responsibility of anyone in particular, because there are so many people involved. It's not a particular role, it's not a particular team. So in the spirit of multi-stakeholderism, I'm talking about collaboration among different stakeholders, starting from researchers who put this piece of work together, to ensure that the work is of good quality, that the citations are right, that references have been made correctly, that papers have been published using the proper guidelines, etc. They are the people who review the papers to just make sure that the proper publication guidelines are followed to the detail. There are publishing houses who publish the work, the content of that's put in the repositories. They also need to be keen. So you don't just get content from anywhere and put it anywhere. You need to have some sort of guidelines to know that this is the kind of content I will accept. It should be, maybe it should have been peer reviewed, or it should have been reviewed by someone else, or something like that. We have institutional review boards who also have a huge role to play in this. So it's a collective effort. You have researchers, you have the technical community, who maybe software developers, as they develop the software for the content, it should be able to scale, so that as the more content grows, you can still have the system running. It should be stable, it should be secure, no one should be able to hack into it. So as we develop policies, we need to look at all the stakeholders who are involved, and like you can see, it's really a wide range. So that's it for me for now, but I'll be able to make contributions later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you. I would like to add actually that in terms of policies we discussed last year, policies for quality control of online educational content, and actually we as a result of the previous year, we agreed that it should be a collective responsibility. So business said it's not necessary to control the quality, because actually a civil society will decide what's good, what's bad, and actually they will rank good or bad content. And so that's what we agreed and what we agreed last year. I would like to give a floor to Patrick, to share his opinion on technologies, on how technology is actually changing their life in the area of education from the business perspective, from the private sector position. Could you please start the presentation from the second part?
Great, thank you. I'm going to break the rules a little bit and stand up, because I want to be able to see what's happening here. I'm a recovering lawyer and a recovering professor, and we like to hear ourselves talk. I want to be able to see what's going on in order to be able to speak. I'll move through this very quickly. I know our time is tight. So what we bring up the presentation, the perspective that I want to share with you is some of the thinking that we have at Google put into this in developing our own online platform. Although I'm hoping to present this in a way that is not Google specific. I'm not trying to sell you products and hold me accountable. This is not intended to be something that is a Google specific thing. It's our experience, but that we believe other software providers should and be involved in. This is a lot of people trying to hack this problem. The main problem is this, and I'll go into details in just a minute. Teachers don't have time to teach. If you look at the kind of work that they do, 30%, a little more than 30% of their time is spent teaching. The rest is spent doing a lot of other tasks. How can technology help with that? How can it help with content? How can it help select it? How can it help deliver it and lighten that burden so the teaching effectiveness is greater? When we think about this, we realize that you've got existing products, and this is our case. We have our suite of products. Any other company has their suite of products, or a hodgepodge, maybe, of different open source products, and you want to understand how people are using them now, tie them in, and then really bring something together specific for educators, because educators are a unique bunch, not necessarily the best computer users, and so it needs to be very simple. We obviously know that things are changing, but if you sort of look outside, the world is very different. I mean, even 10 years ago, we didn't have as much electronics as we do today. Everybody's now using electronics for everything. And classrooms aren't changing. This picture may not be fully reflective, but in 1940, everybody is sitting in a stadium style like we are right now, right? And now people are doing the same thing. There may be some more computers, but for the most part, it's the same kind of interaction. And yet outside of that, there's a lot of world that's changing and developing and adapting. And so we talk to a lot of teachers, and that's what I want to contribute today is some of that experience. There will be some quotes here that we won't be able to go into too much detail on because of time, but I'll leave the slides behind. Lesson planning takes almost 2 hours. Grading and evaluation takes almost 2 hours. Printing takes almost 2 hours, and there's a lot of printing that takes place still today. Email takes about an hour and a half every day, email related to students. And talking to teachers and admins takes about an hour and a half every day. Communicating with parents, this is really more of the case for elementary education rather than university education, but communicating with parents is a big part of it. And assignments are still, for the most part, around the world. There are significant exceptions, for the most part, handed in by paper. So teachers have to hack this. They got to put the whole thing together by themselves. And IT companies like ours, and we're not alone, Microsoft and a lot of other companies are looking at ways to integrate in order to make this a better solution for educators and for students, and that's a really good thing. This is a great example because this is a photo that we took of somebody trying to explain how to, in a second grade class, how to get Google Docs into a Google Drive and then onto the thing. It's these 5 or 6 steps, and it's really complicated. And that's a bad experience because you have to add now to the time that teachers are already taking, talking to students, talking to parents, collaborating. Now they have to explain how to use the tools. This is not their strength. We need to make that easier. We think generally open technology can. And again, this is something that a lot of different people are trying to crack. And the way that we're looking at it is by taking a software platform, thinking about how the devices are that interact, and then the question of content. The point here, I think, for that point is that a lot of the content stuff, which has been a very important point of our topics in the past, is driven a lot by the feedback loops. And there's basically 3 things that we think teachers need in order to have more time. It's really just 3 things. The first is to improve their communications, to make their communications more effective, to be able to make announcements and to be able to have one-to-many and have exchanges with people that can cut out a lot of that regular time and just make it more effective. When you tell one student something that you need to tell other students, sometimes it's a matter of having a platform where they can have that conversation all together and enabling that. The second thing is to create and collect assignments. This is really difficult, both for students and for teachers, but to be able to have that done in a uniform way and to remove the pain from having to explain what you need to do in order to save things. And then finally, being organized. I mean, I have difficulty just being organized in life anyway, but I would be nothing without electronics. Everything is electronic. But in the school world, we need to organize things a little bit differently. And so offering some tools and thoughts about how to do that we think is important. The way we did this was we just started with a test. We just started with one sort of classroom and trying to see how they learn. And we talked to students and got the feedback from what their experience was. And the feedback is really the most important thing. This has been an ongoing theme for all of our workshops here, right, Mikhail? It's we can talk about who gives the feedback, and there's a lot of places for it, but feedback on content is really important, and it's an iterative thing. And it's something that has to continue. And it's something now that involves technology because it has the feedback in. The way people are consuming the information today, maybe by a combination of PDFs and videos and other formats, but it all is run by a software platform. Each university, each school has its own team that does it. And so we have a number of learnings that are we've taken from our experiences here about the flexibility, about assignments needing to be simple to use, about the teachers needing to use them. These are all pretty basic things. And there's a number of things now that everybody wants. It's more, which is good, right? Because when you get feedback from people, the problem is that they give you feedback, right? And so we need to integrate it into, these are the things that we're looking at, is being able to integrate more. All they're asking for is for better, tighter integration, make it easier. And so we're working on a lot of those things. And I'll just run through some of these things quickly. I'll be able to leave some of these slides behind, but we have a lot of quotes that we have from teachers about how fabulous an online enablement can be. This isn't necessarily tied to the type of products that we offer, although it's is done in that context. And feedback from students is similarly very strong. The challenge is getting from the first launch of a technology to getting people to adopt it and getting people to use it. And our journey, started small with one, and we just kept on multiplying it to multiple teachers, and then rolling it out. And you've got a whole team before you know it. So I've got a lot of quotes in here. I'm going to leave these slides behind so that we can run through it. And I think we got a little bit tight on time, but thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I think you totally covered your position in terms of benefits of open educational resources and actually new technologies, to educators and learners and higher institutions. I would like to go also through some key, I would say, core issues of rights for education. And probably Andrei will cover the topic. Just give us a small, let's say, historical review of human educational rights issues. Can we start the next presentation? After that, I hope, yes, we will continue with questions we got.
Please, with this presentation. This. Okay, thank you very much, colleagues. At first, I would like to refer to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This declaration promotes right to education for everyone, and this declaration also that promotes that this education should be involved human rights education about human rights. So that there is also this provision that education should be directed for the development of human personality and strengthening true respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. This is involved tolerance, avoidance of discrimination issues, and other things. We have not enough documents on international level which providing human rights and freedoms for the internet users, but I'd like to refer to the recommendation of the Council of Europe that it is a guide to human rights for internet users. And the educational right is also one of the key points for this recommendation. It's online access to educational, cultural, scientific, and other content on its own languages. That's important that we have to preserve multilingual atmosphere within the internet. Also, there is issue of media literature, information literature, For that, we need to understand how to use technology and use technology to promote education in sphere of human rights. Now I would like to refer to the Charter of Rights and Principles for the Internet, which developed by Dynamic Coalition of the Internet Governance Forum of the Rights and Principles of the Internet. It's involved that everyone has right to education, everyone has the right to be educated about the Internet and to use the Internet for education. This also involves virtual learning, multimedia issues, publications, access to textbooks and other materials on free or low-cost basis without any kind of discrimination for everyone. It should be, where is it? Also, it's proclaimed that everyone should be educated about the Internet. Also, it's raising awareness for human rights. Also, there's also coverage for digital literacy. Well, we have some problems which I would like just to mention. It's about recognition of online education as commodity or public good, recognition of academic degree received by the Internet, and about some standardization of online learning. And now, I would like to shortly outline some best practices. First of all, it's United Nations Cyber School Bus. You know, someone knows this. It's a good example of human rights education on the Internet, which started at 1996. Here as well, we can see the Amnesty International massive online course on human rights. This is a platform for online education about human rights issues. And the last but not least, we have the Sakharov Center in Russia, which also provides online platform for human rights education. It's used by education in sphere of human rights for promotion the rights to education for everyone. I think that's all my presentations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Andrei presented also some interesting, problems, I would say, which are also mentioned in our questions, which we hope to discuss with the audience. So I would like to actually to ask Olga, what do you think in terms of quality of education with the help of open educational resources and other types of of the way to provide education to, to the people of the civil society. So what do you think about the quality? Do you think open educational resources, they, lower the quality or they increase the quality? What do you think?
Well, thank you first for inviting me. Is this how many years? Fifth anniversary?
Yeah, I would say fifth. Yeah.
I think I have participated in most of, sometimes it overlaps with other activities, but thank you very much. And I always do my best to join your nice initiative. I was thinking about, before I came to this workshop, my experience as a university teacher for many, many years, like 20 years so far. And talking about policy and any kind of control or regulation. And I found that some programs, for example, at the national university level in Argentina, they are kind of fixed. You have to go through a very strict process of the national authority in saying yes or no to the program. So I wonder if that is even worse than having some feedback from the community in, for example, some online training courses. So I would say that it is not one size fits all. There is, I think that every online tool or online content could benefit from the feedback from the community, from both, from students, for those who use the content, and also from colleagues. in my university, in University of Buenos Aires, we have feedback from the students. And it's funny because, of course, those teachers that are more perhaps not so strict, they get the best comments. And those are more strict, they get the horrible comments. So it's not only about students, it's also about other colleagues revising the content. But I would not be much in favor of regulations or strict rules that may diminish the value of the content with the pass of time. This is one comment. You make a very interesting point about labor market. I would like to stress the fact that in Argentina was the first country to propose the concept of telework in the World Summit of Information Society. And when we had that, that was a request from our former Ministry of Labor at that time. And we were kind of afraid of proposing that in 2005. And we did that, and it was well received by the community at that day in Tunis. So now it's part of the World Summit of Information document. What I mean with that is that since then, Argentina has developed a series of online training for some certifications, not necessarily a strict university teaching course, but some trainings to have some how can I say in English? Skills or different things to do, but you have some certifications that could be managed online. So I think that is very, very useful. And about the Global South. Global South has the Latin American perspective of Global South. Maybe it's a little bit different from other Global South in Africa. What we have in Latin America is an extreme unbalanced distribution of everything, which is the most unbalanced distribution in all over the world. So you have, if you go to Buenos Aires, Sao Paulo, Mexico, or Guadalajara, you have areas of the city that are like Manhattan. You have high connectivity, online training, computers, nice houses, nice cars. Not far away from there, you have neighborhoods that are not connected, or people have no access to the basic parts of the infrastructure needed for education. So that challenge of Latin America is building an infrastructure that is more equal, balancing those inequalities. And that means infrastructure for access energy, roads, internet. Then, once you have the infrastructure and you have the access, then you will have other imbalanced in relation with content. Then you will have the challenge of the language. I teach, when I teach technology in my university, I'm an engineer. When I bring papers in English, it's like I brought something from hell. No, why English? No, we speak Spanish. Well, guys, we're learning technology. You must be skilled to handle those documents. And that is a big discussion. So content in other languages is a problem. We organize the School of Internet Governance every year. And since day zero, I insisted in having translation, simultaneous translation, English and Spanish. And they told me, you're totally crazy. This is extremely expensive. You're wasting your money. People will understand English. And no, that doesn't happen. So language is a very, very big barrier. And in Latin America, you have several languages, although we all think it's only two, Portuguese and Spanish. Then you have the Caribbean. That has several other languages like Dutch and English, and some locals like Creole and some others. So I would say language access. I would not favor any regulation, and I would favor feedback from the community, but not only from students, but also from colleagues, and having some mixture of feedback to know if the training and the contents are fine. And finally, and of course I can comment on other things, there is kind of a fantasy that online training can be done without the need of time. That is a fantasy. You need the same time, or maybe more time, to do the online training and also the training that you get in the classroom. So I will stop here, and maybe I can comment further then. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the interesting comments, Olga. And I guess We will continue with also with discussing these questions. I just wanted, to come back to the initial question in terms of open education resources and quality of education with the help of open education resources, and just briefly describe set of criteria which were developed in Russia this year as the initiative of Institute of Internet Development to assess open education resources and massive open online courses. And so we will also probably get some feedback and the information about Mexico with the same experience, I guess. So could you please show that slide? Great. So these are our questions, and these are criteria. So I didn't actually, I didn't describe them in details, but what I would like to say that in the world, when we have different types of educational resources available on different levels, so starting from public schools, going towards university education of different levels, postgraduate studies, professional certificates, and some skills training or lifelong education in general with different programs. So in Russia, we got that initiative to actually somehow to rank the courses in order to help actually students to choose, courses. And so we were focused as a proposal of another co-organizer, Svetlana Maltseva, professor from our university. She proposed to focus on hotel stars ranking. We all use that ranking in order to choose a hotel. You think it's not appropriate? It is appropriate. Why? Because we know how actually each course can get the star and for what actually, right? So we know for the hotels, if they got 3 stars or 4 stars, right? So what they should have, what are the requirements for that? And so we got a set of, list of criteria available. So we started with quality of service itself, some internal characteristics of their, of their educational resource. So if you have individual study plan, what about their opportunity to have contact with the lecturer or author of the course, and some other, characteristic. Another set of criteria there, author, so level of author or quality of author of their, massive open online course or open education resource. So like organization of the author, set of publications, so Hirsch index, and so on. Quality of software platform, so more, I would say, technical issues of the platform, like ergonomics, security, reliability, and so on. If it supports mobile, if it doesn't support mobile, which platforms, and so on. Quality of content, but while I'm talking about quality of content, I'm just talking about some basic measures, right? Like if it's unique content or not. What about the connection to the labor market? I mean, if we have industry, in the country where that knowledge might be applied, or what about the practical issues of the content, right? And so on. And the last set of criteria, so service availability. Service availability in general, we are talking about a massive open online course or open education resources. In terms of pricing, MOOCs are not free, right? So if you need a certificate, you have to pay probably. If you don't need a certificate, you don't have to pay if you want to pass some tests and so on. Okay, in terms of requirements, so basic requirements in order to understand, the content and so on. So another set of criteria there. And so we haven't, we are in a process of discussing that with the community in Russia. But the general approach is quite similar to the hotel star ranking. When for 3 stars, and of course, there's a feedback from the students, feedback from other, for the experts, from other lecturers or authors, if you're talking about education. And we know that for 2, 3, 4 stars, that service, that open online course, or that open education resource should actually be sufficient and should be, should satisfy those requirements, which are, I don't know, ticked or somehow indicated, right? And so then students can easily choose what do they want, and actually what's the difference between two courses. Probably they have different level of authors, but they have great feedback from the audience, right? And so they will spend their time. I appreciate you said about timing, because if you're talking about online education, it doesn't mean we can actually be able to get highly professional or highly skilled in a very short period of time. No. Probably we should spend more time in order to understand, deeply understand the knowledge actually within the content. That's what I wanted to share with you in terms of set of criteria. And actually I would like to get position of Christina in terms of Mexico. I heard you have got special online platform, right, in Mexico? Yeah. So can we start the last presentation, please?
Yes, thank you. Well, I also would like to see. Thank you. Well, I'm Cristina. I'm from Mexico, and I'm the head of the new department in charge of running the public policy of education in Mexico. And I want to explain you first why we work from this department, and we want to gather an ecosystem to make the public policy works. We have been delivering more than 2 million devices during the last 3 years. And right now that we stop to think what we have done, we only delivering devices to students that use it no more than 3 or 4 months, and that have content that they don't need anymore, and the content was charged in the devices that we deliver. So it was a problem because we never think to have the content in a site or a platform to share to all students to different levels, and we create content only for the 5th grade because that was the public policy at that time, delivering devices in 5th grade. So what we are doing right now is like, the person. So we decide that first we need to have a goal to know what we want to do, and to select the content, and to know what we are going to evaluate, and to know the whole policy. We need to have first a goal that everybody understands, and they know why we have technology at schools. So we are based on the framework from UNESCO. So we want that the kids know how to collaborate, how to communicate, how to select the content, how to resolve a problem with technology. So doing that, we want to have all the public policy related to that. And we also have the idea of UNESCO that technology is not only for a grade, it's for all grades and it's for all subjects. And that's why we are going to work with different components. For example, if we want that the teachers use the content that we are going to select, we need to help them, and we need to train them, and we need to let them know why we select that content, or when do they need to use it, or which are the short examples that the short moments that they can use technology. Because as we mentioned, do it online doesn't mean less time. In fact, needs more time, needs more training for the teachers to use it. And in many schools that we already observed during the last 3 years that we run pilots before changing the whole public policy in the federal government, we observe that teachers don't use it more than 3 hours per week. So we need to help them to understand why we deliver in devices, why we are giving them content. So teachers training is one of the components, it's the yellow one there. Another important thing is that they need content, as we have been mentioned. And we were working only in the 5th grade, and we were creating the content in the Ministry of Education. And while we were working in these pilot programs with the industry and civil society and academics and international organizations, we realized that there are many free content available, and that everybody is doing something related with technology, education, content, and we decide that we stop production of content and we are gathering content. And doing that, we have the same problems that we have mentioned before, like the criteria for selecting the content, and that is now our work. We are not creating, we are curing content, selecting and classifying the content for all the grades, not only for the 5th grade that have a device, because we also observe that during the last years, the students that use technology are not the kids who are having the devices delivered by the government, but they are using through the smartphones or to the computers that they have at home. So the education is not only in the school, but we also saw that if the teachers want to use technology, most of the time they train not in the school, but outside the school. We also have another section in this site that I will mention later, we create, that encourage teachers and parents and kids to use technology. And many of the firms that we were working in the pilot programs also show us that they have a lot of initiatives for encourage the teachers to use technology. For example, there is the prize for the best teacher using technology of Microsoft, Imagine Cup, for example, or Google. Google has a lot of many prizes for teachers or students for the best practices. And while I was invited to these practices, I saw that most of the teachers that go there from Mexico were from private schools. And it is because many of the teachers who understand that there are many practices like that needs to go to the site. First, they need to know that there are prizes. Then they need to go to the site. Then they need to go to the special programs. Then they go to the classification for the subject that they are teaching. So there are so many clicks before they arrive to know that there is a prize that it becomes so difficult for them to find them. And we are also selecting here some of these initiatives, and we are like in a calendar showing to the teachers and make it so it's more easy to find them. Just like a race, whoever runs here knows that if you are looking for a race, then there are many sites that help you to find the races for every weekend, and it's easy to find. We want to do the same for prizes for robotics and some other things. And then we put connectivity because it's not less important. In many of the schools, we don't have connectivity, we don't have equipment, and in that we are doing another public policy that it's a long process, but we are renting equipment. We don't want to worry for the replacement of the equipment. We want that the school solution consider connectivity, not because it's fundamental for learning with the use of technology, but for monitoring, for upload content, for tracking what are the teachers doing, and if the training that we provide them is good enough or not, and because also we want that the teachers start to create and share experience and work in nets in that field. So this is how the platform looks. It's very simple. We launched it last month. You can get inside, it's aprende.edu.mx, sorry. And we have this section that the yellow one is for teachers, the green one is for content, and the other one is for the initiatives that I mentioned before. The one in yellow, it's for the work for teachers. What we can find, it's small videos for teachers to understand what are the digital skills that we want to develop with them. Certifications, as we mentioned before, what are the certifications that exist from different firms that have already for free and available. We have some tools that the teachers can use. It's a one-stop site for the teachers to find tools to teach and to learn how to implement technology. So this is step by step and different levels, and the teachers can use it at any time and any hour. And of course, we need to guide them more, and some of the teachers will need more help. But the main goal for this section of the platform is to create nets. We observe that many teachers work better when they have a communication among them. So we are running a pilot program right now with Facebook, and we want that the teachers start to communicate and share experience of how they use technology in a simple way. And we are only intervening, we are only participating as a moderators to know that the content that they upload is not incorrect, not proper for the group that we want to have. So, generally speaking, this section is a word for teachers and how to use technology. The other side is the side of resources, open resources. We have, for every participant in the project, we asked them that they gave us the rights to have them upload and that the students can also download the content. And most of this content has been donated. We haven't paid any peso for the content. We already have 2,000 upload, and that you have an example, Telmex, which is one of the biggest companies of telecommunications in the country, translated 5,000 contents in Spanish from Khan Academy for math, physics, Spanish. So we are going to have them in their site, but with the link in our site that they can look for it. And as Telmex, it's Telefonica, it's Google, it's Microsoft. So we have many resources, and we are very slow uploading them because we need to have this agreement, legal agreement, and that's why we are slow. But we consider that with the amount of firms that have arrived to our office showing what they want to donate, we will have a huge platform of content, and our program will be curating the content more than worried to create the content. And well, this is the curation stuff. And just to have some data right now, the problem is not having the platform upload. The problem right now that we are having is that we need to reach the teachers, that they understand what the platform is, and this is another session. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for such a detailed description of the system, and actually for raising quite interesting, also questions that teachers also should be trained to use the technology. And so how much time and who is going to pay for that, that's a question also. But I would like to come back to our questions actually, in order to describe you also that link, at your platform you also don't have a link to the local labor market. I mean, you got companies and private business translating the content, but not telling where that content should be applied, right? It is quite interesting, the question why we got that question of linkage, of connection between educational resources and can you please show the questions? And labor market, yes, that, if the government supports open education resources or national platforms, so then if students attend different, let's say, courses, but government knows that knowledge won't be applied, right, on the local labor market, then what's the benefit of the government supporting that activity? From the global perspective and from the, from the globalization, let's say, approach, we understand that it's great for people being able to get education in different areas of different level with different content and apply it wherever they want. But from the perspective of government, for instance, it's a big question, because if government, if the government structures, if they know that you cannot apply that knowledge you got in your country, then actually, obviously, they supporting you leaving the country, right? And that's an interesting question. I know that in UNESCO that question wasn't raised, and so I hope that the question of the connectivity of education resources will be raised somewhere at their global level, right? Because it's a global, actually, it's a global question. But I would like to first of all ask if you have questions from remote participants or a remote speaker. I don't know if Sarah would like to add something. Otherwise, I would like us to spend more time than it was planned, because we started 15 minutes late, and so to spend 10 more minutes just to discuss, those questions and to ask the audience what do they think about the actions. So if you have any questions from remote participants, no? Okay. So please, yes. And also, could you please name yourself and the organization, and could you please show the questions, if possible? Yes, great, please.
My name is Sinjaneia. I'm part of youth IGF. I'm from Brazil. And I work with a web platform too, because in Brazil we realized, me and my friends, that we have a lot of opportunities of online learning, but people do not know how to find these opportunities or how to access that. So we got this web platform, and then we share opportunities for conferences, scholarships, and also for online learning courses. And we started a year ago by Facebook, and now we created the website, and I coordinate 75 ambassadors in Brazil, because even having the web platform, we want them to actually reach people and to talk to them and to make people understand that we can use online learning. Because in Brazil, we still have a lot of prejudice with that, because people just use internet as a kind of for social media. So because of it's not very common, saying that you're learning something online, it's quite hard. So actually, what I would like to ask about the quality rank on the internet is pretty much, how do you think that we can get youth to work with that? For example, in the action that I work with my friends, having support from schools, government, and things like that. Because we started by ourselves because we have opportunities of scholarships and we want to share that. But even when you go to places in Brazil to talk about that, it's really difficult because online learning is still really hard in a culture where people just go to a school that not have chairs. So, people don't even get access to internet. Myself, I have access to internet when I was like 14 years old and got a computer so much later. So it's still like that because I grew up in a culturing zone. So what I want to ask you is how can we work in internet in developing cultures like that? And how can we use this web platform and make this, achievable to everyone?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your question. First, I would like to address that question to Olga, actually. And after that, probably Patrick will also come in from the business perspective.
Thank you. I fully agree with you. And yes, there are schools without chairs, without electricity, and sometimes without a roof. It's not a joke. So there's a big imbalance in our countries from very wealthy areas, some parts of the cities, rural areas, or parts of the cities that are not rural, are urban, but at the same time have a big lack of infrastructure. That is a big problem, and it's a big challenge. My suggestion, and we have been thinking about, and we are thinking about doing a project starting 2017 with the ISOC chapter of where I'm a president in Argentina, is trying to work with the government and with some universities in building some small cases of not very expensive and sustainable connectivity for especially rural schools, starting with the school as the focal point of the community. And we are working with the government because there are some, and university to see which is the best technology solution. Perhaps there are different options. We mainly think about wireless solutions and build a small case and try to explain it and share the knowledge with others and replicate it in some other local places. And we think about the school as the space where the community gathers. And I'm fully optimistic about young people. I think the kids and young people will grab that very quickly, much more than teachers, which is a challenge also, because sometimes teachers don't know what to do and they feel threatened by the technology. So this is what we are thinking about, and the government, we talked to the government, and this is very, very premature. We have no started, but it's an idea. And if it works, I can share that with you, with a nice group of young people. And then when it's done, content and but I think content is available. Then we can gather some good training courses. And also I would like to share with you that the Ministry of Production in Argentina is training online programmers. We have a big lack of ICT training professionals, and not only university level, but sometimes certification level. So the industry is not growing much because we don't have people to work in it. So these are two ideas that I wanted to share with you.
Thank you. Probably Patrick, yes.
Okay, well, there were two questions. One was feedback, and the other is how do you get this to people that don't have electricity to some level, right? And that second question is one that I'm very passionate about, but I'm not going to talk about now because I'm so passionate about it, and it's so rich of a topic that it doesn't deserve to be handled in 30 seconds. It's an important thing, and there's people like us that are, in very rich places thinking about how to get the internet to people that don't have it, and there's a problem there, and we need to fix that. It's a hard question. I'm glad you raised it, but we have to talk about it another day. One thing I want to talk about that I think is really interesting is the idea of institutionalizing feedback, and I'm going to give one example that I think is just fabulous. Everybody here is, I'm sure, taking an Uber, at one point or another, or a lift. So this is for them, their content is their driver, right? And getting evaluation and feedback from driver is paramount. They need to know from everybody whether drivers are good or bad. And the way they do that is by institutionalizing a really annoying program, right, that bugs me, but is extremely effective, because I have to rate, and everybody that rates or takes an Uber or a Lyft has to rate their driver every time. I don't do it ever. At the time I get out and I run to the thing, but it won't let me log back in until I rate. I got to stop and think about it. I'm usually pretty good at rating people, but I've gotten a few bad apples. A guy in Singapore took me on a 45-minute tour for a 5-minute ride. Bottom line is, institutionalizing this feedback is really important, and we don't do that in the educational context. We give students an option, and when you give students an option for feedback, it's hit and miss. Institutionalizing it, forcing them to have that feedback loop on an ongoing basis is, I think, one of the most important things for us to do.
Thank you very much. Probably we will go to another question, because I guess Christina described very, detailed how system should work in Mexico. I don't know if the description answered on your questions, but if not, probably, after the session, if you don't mind, okay? So I would like to get more questions or, comments from the audience. If you have any other questions and your opinion about, topics we had discussed. Any questions, comments? Yeah. Probably your experience, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
I'm Tao from Beijing University of Post and Telecommunication. About how to make good quality courses. Take my university as a case. Our university first encourage teachers to make some high quality courses, or like MOOCs, and supporting some budget, and then use a very high level, university level committee to evaluate the courses. The winner would be further evaluated by national level committee. And then I think this maybe is our cases. And nowadays, our university have several high quality courses presented in the website. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think, but I guess universities, also from Russian perspective, at our university, we also have to encourage, teachers, first of all, to create to create the content, right? Because it takes much more time to create online course than just ordinary course, because you have to use those technologies. So you had also another question or comment, please.
Well, this kind of the question changed my life. I began to study blended learning, my high school, and now I am a student online in the University of Guadalajara online. I think this about the benefit. I think is for adults is another opportunity. I have I'm a classmate from rural. How to say? I'm sorry, but rural places, and it's it changed our lives. That's what I say. This is a benefit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And okay, probably if you don't have any other questions, so I will probably just conclude a bit. What we discussed. I know that I don't know if you have any questions from remote participants. No. Okay. All right. So today, the key issue of this workshop was continuation of the topic of empowerment through quality online education. The thing is that we got that presentation from Andrei. In each country, education and online education might be different in terms of regulations. And actually, even though if we have United Nations, description of online education, opportunities for all the people to get that education through the internet, in each country we have different regulations and different policies, and actually different descriptions of online education. Somewhere it's distant learning, somewhere we are talking about massive online courses and so on. And what we wanted to raise here, that even if we have such different world in terms of different descriptions and definitions of online education, and different conditions, right? For that, I appreciate Olga saying about imbalance in terms of infrastructure, depending on the regions, right? So we anyway should give the opportunity to everyone, right, to get their education through online services. But we should also somehow guide them how they should choose actually appropriate content or appropriate courses. And that's why we had those questions and topics about whether it should be measured somehow, whether there should be some criteria proposed and so on. In Russia, as I said, we propose a set of criteria. Next year, some of the courses will be evaluated, even from Coursera as well. And so we will see, actually, we will get the feedback, which is really should be institutional in terms of evaluation of the approach, right? And the question of connection between labor market and education, we receive in traditional educational systems, we have business, we have companies, we have private sector participating as a partner, right, of the educational process. But the education, the online education, we have private sector funding development of content, development of different courses, but sometimes we still don't have the connection between the content, between the course and applications in local labor market. And that's another question probably to the global organizations, how it should be done, how actually how that should be implemented, right? And so what I also wanted to say that I think great example of educational platform from Mexico, where government started making started creating content, right, itself, and then also connected different communities, right? It's a good example how the first step anyway should be introduced, because it's going not from the community, which sometimes, as we said, should be educated, right? How to use open online resources, how teachers should create the content, but also it should be introduced by the government wishing, to expand, wishing to give the right of education to everybody, even through online services. And I also, wanted to, again, to emphasize that languages and content in different languages is also a big problem. And so we should also think about the same, evaluation or criteria, but involving local communities to evaluate, to rank the courses and so on, right? As we have with the hotel stars ranking. And I think if you can afterwards, if you can think about, that approach, if it would help you to choose, courses or not. So, and probably to share your opinion afterwards, even after the seminar. And yeah, so thank you very much. And we will have, the report afterwards at the IGF website. And I hope that we will have more focused discussion on one of those questions. Yeah, probably next year if the next workshop or next session is supported. So thank you very much. And yeah, yes. So,
one moment. Tomorrow we will be hold the lighting session on the conflicts and Human Rights and Internet Governance. It will be in 1 hour 50. It's during the lunchtime in the lighting session zone, 1:52 to 10. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.